John.
Rationalization, where the pseudo-sophisticated idea of polyamory is defended against the obviously right argument that it will destroy two-parent households because males are super aware and programmed to avoid raising other people's children.
I'm not sure. That may be what that word means. It may mean something totally different, and I just don't remember.
Well, let's put it this way. There is an argument that says it will be better than two-parent households because nobody will know whose child is whose, and everybody will contribute equally. And
Yes, and my point before has been, the idea that if a bunch of men don't know who the dad is, they'll all parent equally. Like, yeah, they will, which is to say, none at all.
Exactly.
Like, they're just going to go off and find other opportunities elsewhere, won't they? So yeah, we are stealing children's childhoods, and it misunderstands the way that so many people are parenting now misunderstands what childhood is. So we're born as you know, our babies are born so helpless, like literally can't roll over by themselves for weeks. That is a remarkable level of helplessness. And it's in part because we have such giant brains that although they really need to cook for longer inside mom, there's no ability to continue to be expanding the birth canal and keep women stable on our feet and have the babies be born at an age when they could actually do stuff for themselves. So they have a lot of their really early development outside in the world. And then even as they start to be able to roll over and crawl and walk and talk and run and think and abstract and have theory of mind, that takes a long time. And what they're doing during that time is learning how to be human. It's not an accident. It's not an error. The fact that we have the longest childhoods on the planet for our lifespan is actually a feature of what it is that we are as humans, because we have so much to learn, not just about how to be a human anywhere, but how to be a human specifically where it is that we're growing up. And so protecting those children from all experiences that the parent didn't imagine in advance or feels are slightly risky will guarantee that what that childhood was, okay, so you had some periods of time when you could gaze upon your gorgeous child and you knew that they were safe, but they're not going to be ready for the world. They're not going to have grown up in any real sense. Their bodies will continue to develop, hopefully, although we're messing even with that at this point. And they will get to be 18, as I said before, with no ability to know what risk is, to ask questions, to do pattern recognition, to engage with other people socially or in relationship. And that's more true the less embodied their world was, the less real social interactions they had, the less able they were to experiment with each other and with the world and ask questions that were maybe, not the best questions, right? Like, we need to expose ourselves to things that will be risky and maybe even sound out there physically, intellectually, emotionally. That's how we learn how to be adults. That's how we get wisdom.
Actually, it strikes me that in the context of sport, there's the perfect analogy that childhood is scrimmage for life.
Hmm.
And something like school or what you can learn on the internet might be like drills, right? You can learn a certain amount from a drill. But imagine that you tried to field a team of players who had been put through drill after drill after drill, but had never played a game, right? They're going to suck. They're going to be absolutely terrible at it, right? At many different levels, right? So anyway, that is effectively what we are doing to children by not allowing them to experiment in the actual world. Now, one does have to insulate them from some harm, but the idea is they have to be exposed to real risks that are enough to produce costs in their life that matter to them, right? You want to, you obviously don't want your kid to end up getting killed because they've been exposed to too much risk all at once that they didn't have the tools to manage. But over time, they have to face greater and greater risks if they're going to manage risk well as adults. And we are really blowing it. And we are seeing the catastrophe that arises when people who we have not taught how to build anything, or we have not allowed them to learn how to build anything, and we haven't given them the tools to navigate risks, effectively they end up demanding that the world make them safe, which isn't the way the world has ever worked. Right? It's going to be fruitless, and they're going to tear apart civilization in the naive belief that the world could be made safe for them.
I guess, and there's one way in which this seems, what both of us just said, I totally stand behind, but this sort of messaging has been misconstrued sometimes, to imagine that actually what you need to do from day one of your child's life is expose them to risk and let them cry it out, for instance, which is one of the modern forms of parenting. Just put them down to sleep alone in a room, and if they cry, just let them cry it out, because they're going to have to learn how to comfort themselves. Well, no. Right? What we need as children is to know for sure, because we are so helpless, is to know for sure that our parents, and perhaps more than that, but at least our parents, utterly have our back, that someone will come if we are in danger. And frankly, the more often your child is in physical contact with you in the very early days and weeks and months, the better. The more certain that child will be that they have an attachment that is there for them, such that when they do start exploring, they know that if they run into trouble, someone's looking out for them. And if they cry, then you're going to come. Right. And then they can go farther and farther and farther, not because at 2 months old they were allowed to cry themselves to sleep. That's going to produce the opposite. Right. And similarly, as a 12-year-old, if the parent is right there hovering all the time and not letting them explore, that's going to produce the opposite.